I think many people, and honestly this happens to parents just as much as students, view intelligence through the lens of school. Even when we try not to do it, it just sort of happens, which is crazy. School is not designed to teach or cultivate intelligence, even though ideally that's what it's supposed to do. In reality, so many school assignments are really just asking you to regurgitate information. So that's the first reason, conflating or confusing this regurgitation of information with intelligence. And it's not, right? Like thinking, true critical thinking comes from sort of questioning information. And I feel like students are honestly kind of punished for questioning information these days, but that's a totally different point. Putting together different pieces of information, generating novel insights, recognizing patterns, then again, questioning those patterns. That's what school should be teaching us. So we've already established that school is a poor lens to judge one's intelligence, which begs the question, what is a good lens? Well, the simple answer is it depends, right? It depends on the person. If you want to measure or cultivate someone's emotional intelligence, would you force them to do chemistry equations all day? If you wanted to measure someone's aptitude for spatial awareness and reasoning, would you ask them to recite poems? Probably not. The simple reason you are so much smarter than you think is because you just haven't found the right lens yet. Well, maybe I shouldn't assume anything. Perhaps some of you have found the perfect environment to show off all of your innate talents. But if I had to guess, excuse me, I think the majority of students, young students today, just haven't had that opportunity. Einstein famously said, "Everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid." I feel like most of us have seen that quote somewhere, maybe even on one of those inspirational posters at school. But what most people don't know is that there's actually a second part of the quote. Einstein goes on to write, "The question I have for you at this point of our journey together is, what is your genius?" And before you say that you don't know or you don't have one, resist that temptation, hold that thought. Because I know you do. Even if you don't know you do yet. You don't have to be the best or better than anyone else. Honestly, that's another thing I hate about school. The constant comparison. Just compare yourself to yourself. What is something that comes a little bit more naturally to you? Maybe it's taking care of animals. Maybe it's staring at equations. Maybe it's writing poems. It's easy for you. Or at the very least, it comes easier than the other stuff. Well, that, my friend, that is where your hidden genius lies. To find your intelligence type, you gotta be the kid at the dessert table. Just try everything. So if you're watching this and you're still in school, particularly middle school, high school, early years of college, guys, now is the perfect time to experiment. Like, what happens if you fail? Absolutely nothing. Focus on cultivating that self-awareness. If I had a little sibling today, which I guess would be you guys, I would tell them, your priority is self-discovery. Once you've convinced yourself that, hey, I just might have some talent, or hey, actually, I'm pretty good at this, it's time to change your environment to serve you. Remember, the default is the school system. That environment may or may not be designed for your best interests. So your job is to create one that does serve your best interests. And I know it sounds tough, so actually let's simplify it. To give you an example, if you know you do your best creative work, you can enter the flow state by going out to a forest and playing the flute for 2 hours. Then do yourself and the world a favor by embracing your identity as the reincarnation of the Greek god Pan. Like, go out and play the damn flute while frolicking in that forest. All right. I know that was a little bit of a silly example, but the same thing applies for something a little bit more concrete, like spatial awareness, right? Or spatial intelligence. My dad is incredibly good at imagining these three-dimensional shapes. He did his best work. My man was happiest back in China when he was building furniture using woodblock. He thrived there way better than the traditional classroom. Speaking of which, another thing I wanted to touch upon is a Western versus Eastern conceptualization of intelligence, at least from my very limited life experience and point of view. So I grew up in Miami, attended public schools for 8 years, then went to a private boarding school in the Northeast, attended an Ivy League college, and well, now I'm here talking about education in my living room and sharing it with the world on YouTube. Anyways, given my background, I noticed something. And again, feel free to refute me, disagree. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Personally, I think that Eastern folks are a little bit more conservative with how they view intelligence. And what I mean by that is people like my parents, at least they used to see how effectively intelligence could be applied within an already existing framework or system to make things better. It's kind of like going from 1 to 10. But the West, and Americans in particular, showcase their intelligence through rebellion and ingenuity, which I think is just so freaking cool. It's like going from 0 to 1 as opposed to 1 to 10. Or sometimes, I don't know, American intelligence is about exploring new stuff just for the sake of adventure, just because it hasn't been done before, just because it's different. Which, now that I think about it, is a little ironic since American schools don't really emphasize this sense of adventure or exploration much in the classroom. But I guess if you compare it to schools in China or Japan or Korea, which really do emphasize rote memorization and foundational knowledge, I guess you could argue that there's more room for creativity, freedom, expression within the American education system as opposed to East Asian ones. Again, these are just my own musings as of February 2024, and my thoughts might change in a few weeks or months. But again, I'm curious to hear what you guys think about all this. I kind of want to touch upon this idea of speed I mentioned previously. You guys remember in elementary school when the teacher would ask a question and there'd be a kid who would immediately raise their hand up super fast, that sort of thing. Maybe you felt sort of impressed when that happened, or maybe you felt annoyed. Maybe you were that kid. Okay, quick aside, I was totally the raising hand, talking fast kind of kid. And people used to call me smart. Why? Because in their mind, in our society's point of view, speed plus knowledge equals intelligence. But let's unpack that for a second. Like, obviously that's just not true. The smartest person in the room is not the one who can react fastest. In fact, it could very well be the slowest person. But still, we've been so conditioned and forced onto this sort of academic treadmill where every 2 weeks you have to learn a new unit or understand a new mathematical or scientific concept, be able to talk about it, apply it during some exam situation, that whether we agree with this notion or not, it's been kind of forced upon us, which is not good, right? You just end up forgetting everything after a year anyways. But once you leave the school system, you can learn things more at your own pace. Take 6 months or a year to read the Odyssey instead of cramming the whole thing down in 2 weeks. I've never read the Odyssey though, but should I? Is it good? Overrated? I guess what I'm trying to say, and the purpose of this video, is that every single one of us has a slice of genius, and your job as a student is to figure out what that slice of genius is. It could be kinesthetic, an ability to handle objects skillfully, dance, sports, physical agility, hand-eye coordination. It could be linguistic, a natural affinity for words, sounds, languages, rhythm. It could be existential. Maybe you're an old soul with a spiritual knack to locate yourself with respect to the cosmos and articulate the existential features of the human condition. Whatever it is, I'm here to tell you it's already there. It just wants to be let out, you know? You just need to give it a chance to emerge. So my recommendation, actually my challenge to you, is to set the stage. School is merely one arena for you to access and display your intelligence. But do not, for a second, think that it's the best one or the only one. Create a new space, a new arena that serves you. If you know that you have that kinesthetic talent, you need to be giving yourself some more opportunities to nurture and refine that dimension of your intelligence by playing some sports, trying out new dance styles, that sort of thing. If you know that you've been gifted with emotional intelligence, that rare ability to listen, you found yourself handling tough conflicts, empathizing with others, create a new stage where you can not just improve or hone your gift or talents, but utilize it to help and serve others. Don't simply accept or resign yourself to the system that our society has placed upon you. I know it's much easier said than done, but really do invest some time in thinking about what a new system where you thrive might look like. Because 1, school is not going to be there forever. 2, you know yourself best. And 3, no one else is going to do it for you. It's like asking school to cook a cafeteria meal for you versus cooking the meal yourself. 1, we reluctantly accept. The other, yes, it takes a bit more energy, but it could be worth it.